Okay, so I just want to clarify that I don't really appear in the intro of this video, but I do exist and I just come later on. Anyways, enjoy the video and DM me on Discord if you have any questions about the tier list.
This is Matchstick here, coming back with another Cobrakai video.
Alright, what's good? It's Glizzy, aka Eagle Fingers.
Okay, what's up? I'm Cursed. Some people know me as Chalku, but you can just call me the number one Robbie Glazer. And today we're making a tier list. We're gonna be explaining to you all the scaling, especially the new scaling for season 6, because that shit is by far probably the most peak scaling to talk about.
And
Maybe that's like a recency bias, but I personally think it's the best to talk about. So we will still be covering the other seasons though, so this will be an entire verse tier list, but not that bum Karate Kid 10. Dre and Chang get folded by season 1 Xander, by the way.
Oh yeah, by the way, disclaimer, Miguel fans, just be prepared for this video.
Yeah, Miguel fans, if you get salty easily, this is not the video for you, because we will be
Click
salty.
off now. Click off now, but leave a like.
Oh,
Yeah,
please
click
subscribe.
off now, but leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment acting like you watched the whole video,
Yep.
please. We need money.
Oh yeah, definitely. I need to pay my rent
For sure.
too. So
Yeah, our rent's like 5 months due. We need to pay our electricity bill, because back in the day we used to make money from debates, but we retired from debating and
now
we
back.
blew it all on cocaine.
So guys, we're going to be starting off from the bottom tier to the top tier. So starting with E tier, we have the Season 1 characters and Season 2 characters. Starting off is Hawk. He is by far the weakest character in this tier, he is pretty much featless, and his only scaling is getting a point off an unbalanced Robbie. But once Robbie focuses, he finally gets... He kind of gets destroyed, really badly. But he just sucks. That's just the brief summary of Season 1 Hawk. And above him would be Miguel and Robbie. Miguel would be below Robbie, since Robbie is unbalanced and he is injured throughout the fight. And once Robbie focuses, he's been shown to constantly neg Miguel throughout the fight. And Miguel is above Hawk because Miguel stated to be the best in Cobra Kai during Season 1 and Johnny's only chance of winning. So Miguel should just be above Hawk at this point. And Robbie is just the best here by far. So moving on to Season 2. The bottom tier for Season 2 is Hawk. He doesn't really do that much. He does briefly scale to Miguel and Robbie, but he gets quickly folded by them, and he's just the weakest of these characters in Season 2, with Tori being above him because of scaling better to Miguel and Robbie, and also Sam, as she's able to hold off better against them compared to Hawk. So that's why she would be above Hawk. And Robbie and Miguel are clearly they're just shown to be Tori and Hawk, so there's just no reason. Unless you're just being sped. That's yeah. And and Robbie would be below, or well, relative to Miguel, give or take, if you guys really want to argue that. But Miguel should just be better. And
Robbie, actually, dude, come on, man. We all know Robbie was unbalanced, dude, and Miguel was jumping him. Like, come on, man.
It really doesn't matter in this tier, really. And Sam would just be the best since she just outscales Robbie, who's just relative to Miguel. So it's just safe to say that she just upscales Miguel too at this point.
Oh yeah, and unbalanced Sam scales with Tori, which is actually W. Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much E tier. And Glizzy, you can take the mic and you'll explain F tier.
Alright, moving on to F tier, we have Season 3 Tori, who should just be above Season 2 Sam because she has somewhat relative scaling to a stronger version of Sam. Sam would obviously be above Tori because she's able to outperform her by the end of Season 3 when she gets over her mental nerve. Now I have Season 4 Devin. Devin should be comfortably above Season 3 Sam as she's able to somewhat scrap with Tori at the All Valley tournament. And this would make her comparable to the likes of Piper, who is able to easily pierce through Sam's defense. So this is why Devin should just logically be above a Season 3 version of Sam at the bare minimum. Now her and Season 3 Hawk are kind of interchangeable, but Hawk would most likely be above due to the fact that his offense would scale highly above her based off Season 4 statements and feats. He also is able to more consistently scale to characters who can break wooden boards, as we see Devin cannot consistently do this, as in the skills competition she sometimes fails to break boards. Now, a very controversial topic in Season 3 is whether or not Hawk is actually above Sam or not. Many people use the fact that Sam was able to beat him in a 2v1 at the arcade fight as evidence that she should be above him. But not only does Hawk get stronger after this point, their exchange is too short to really gauge how a full fight would go. As after Sam kicks Hawk away, he makes no real attempt to continue to fight her. And Hawk is consistently, up until Robbie joins the dojo, the strongest member of the Cobra Kai team. And characters like Paul and NPC Cobra were able to press Sam. So due to Hawk easily just flipping Cobras with one arm and like slamming them into walls and stuff, should be above Sam by the time of the house fight. Hawk would also be above Tori because she is a member of Cobra Kai Dojo as well, and she's somewhat relative to Sam. That's why Hawk is most likely at this place. We didn't have Season 3 Robbie, who's above Season 3 Hawk because Kreese chose Robbie to replace Hawk as his champion. Robbie was also able to land a hit on a Season 3 Johnny, and he was able to take down the entire Cobra Kai Dojo with ease. So his feats are just more impressive than Hawk, but can really argue it either way. We didn't have Karate Kid 1 Johnny. Now, the reason that Karate Kid 1 Johnny is above Season 3 Robbie is that Kreese at the start of Season 4 states that Robbie has the potential to surpass his father, that he can show the potential at the All Valley tournament. So therefore, he must not be above Karate Kid 1 Johnny at this point, as he was already stronger than his father at that age, and Kreese would have no reason to say this. We didn't have Chosen Taguchi above Johnny Lawrence from this time period, as Chosen was able to somewhat fight Karate Kid 2 Daniel, who was logically above a Karate Kid 1 Daniel, who even with a broken leg was able to go relative with Johnny and defeat him. We would then have young Daniel LaRusso from this time period. The reason that he's above Chosen is that he was just able to beat them in their fight and gets even stronger in Karate Kid 3, so there's not really any reasoning for Chosen to be above him. Now, topping this off, we have Season 4 Dimitri. Now, the reason that Dimitri is placed here is because we should know, just it's kind of implied in Season 4 that when the characters begin to combine styles, they just start to eclipse their past selves. The reason this is relevant is that Piper was able to comfortably beat Sam when Sam was only using defense, but the moment that Sam began to incorporate offense, it was enough to bridge the gap to the point that Piper could not score another point on her again. We also know that characters in this verse, based off the Johnny versus Kreese fight at the start of Season 2, that if you just know things that your opponent doesn't know, then you're more likely to be able to defeat them. Kenny and Devin from Season 5 didn't go above Dimitri, as they have somewhat scaling to characters such as Hawk and Sam. Now, while they are not fully on relative to these characters, they do at least press them in certain instances, whereas Dimitri got 3-0'd by Robbie and was only able to throw him on the ground. But that's why they would go there.
Valkyrie will then go next, and he will cover the main 5 teams for both Season 4 and Season 5, which their scaling is not that different, so Valkyrie, take that away.
The win D- tier is the top tier Season 4 kids, with unfortunately Tori at the bottom. She's at the bottom because she quite literally performs worse feats than everybody above, with Sam straight up showing she would have been the All Valley champ if Silver hadn't paid off the ref. And above her, like I said, is Sam, who beats up Tori pretty convincingly when she finds her balance. Now above her is the big 3 boys. The reason they're above is the Silver statement where he says he's seen the best fighters in the valley and lists these 3 boys. The last time he saw them was in the All Valley. Anyways, Miguel is the lowest here because he performs the least amount of feats straight up. He isn't really able to land a hit on Eli, who, if you want to argue, is using 1 or 2 styles, it doesn't really matter. But we can never prove Miguel's tornado kick would have landed on Eli, so that would be a no-brainer. He knocks Eli to the ground once, which Robbie does a lot more times than Miguel, and very obviously shows a better performance against an Eli that is undeniably giving Robbie everything he's got as instructed by Daniel. Also, if you want to use the apartment fight, this was after Robbie already lost his little no mercy buff that he got from Cobra Kai, which you can see in the way he doesn't really strike first anymore. And at the top of the list, of course, is Eli, who beats Robbie. Those of you who said that Robbie could have landed this point, first of all, it was a super slow-mo, so proving that Robbie would have won this is just all assumptions with zero proof to back it up. And not to mention, if Robbie really was better, this one opportunity loss wouldn't matter, as he'd win anyways. But even though he hits Eli in the leg, Eli's still able to win, and with that same leg, showing that Robbie under no circumstance would win this fight. Kenny also never points out that he lost because Robbie is distracted, and those of you who say the statement helps Miguel because of what Kenny said right before this, or after, I don't remember. It doesn't, because it's literally disproven by the fact Miguel does worse against Eli than Robbie. In D tier is the top tier season 5 kids, with Sam at the bottom this time. Sam quite literally does nothing this season, I'm gonna be honest. And when she has this little scrap with Tori when she's enraged, Tori just blocks and eats her shots with literally no diff. We also get proof of this from Sam's best feat this season, which is taking down Kim Da-eun. During this fight, Tori, who has one hand by the way, is constantly getting beat up by Kim Da-eun, but is shown to be able to withstand this. Whereas Sam just kind of falls over after a few hits and then doesn't really do anything. This takedown on Kim was good, but it wouldn't be enough to put her on par with Tori, as Tori would outlast her in an actual fight, which is why Tori is above Sam. Now above Tori is Robbie. Robbie, along with Miguel being stated to be their best hope at winning the Sekai Taikai, would have to be above the likes of Sam, who is relative to Tori anyways. And of course you could also use the silver statement from before. Robbie unfortunately doesn't go any higher though, as his stepbrother Miguel manages to beat him in a fight. There is really nothing Robbie does by the end of the season that suggests that he's closed this gap by now. So Robbie is unfortunately the lowest of the 3 boys, with Miguel following for the reasons mentioned. Now, if you've seen season 5, it may be a surprise for Hawk being at the number 1 spot, but let me explain. In the season 6 frat party fight, Hawk objectively has the best performance here, as he's easily able to beat up the frat boys without being shown to get very pressed, not even once. Miguel here does get pressed a number of times by 2 goons at once, which Hawk easily handles 2 goons at once. This event doesn't take place far enough in the future to put outside the realm of their season 5 characters. Now these goons at the frat all scale to each other due to them not having any feats and them getting beat up by, well, the main characters of this fight. But Miguel still gets pressed. And if you said, oh, the goons Miguel fought are stronger because he fought a stronger opponent, there's really no proof that by the end of season 5, Miguel is much better, if not any better than Hawk with what I literally just mentioned. So this is definitely a no-brainer argument to say. The goons all scale to each other, and Hawk does the best in this fight, which is why he has his spot on the top of the season 5 rankings. On to the next tier.
Okay, so finally I get to talk, because I know you guys have been waiting for me to get my thoughts on this tier list because everyone else has been stealing my shine. But I'll be starting off with the C tier. At the bottom of the C tier is by far Dimitri. Now, just to explain why Dimitri is above the characters in season 5, we know that during the Sekai Taikai eliminations for to decide the main 6, we know that they'd have to be like better than the season 5 teams if they wanted to stand a chance, which is the entire point of the whole Mike Barnes training, to evaluate who was actually capable of matching these guys. Dimitri is also going through super intense training, and although I wouldn't say he's like relative to the guys in season 5, we saw in the frat party fight he wasn't much behind them, and although Hawk was holding back, he did still kind of press him, and this is the same version of Hawk that fought in the Sekai Taikai. And even during the Sekai Taikai, we see that he can fight alongside Hawk and not be like completely left behind, while also being able to block attacks from Yoon, who we do know is above Hawk. Now my GOAT, Devin. Devin's above Dimitri for the simple fact that we saw in part 1 she was actually able to outperform and actually land a pretty good hit on Hawk and then take his flag, which is something Dimitri could not do on a suppressed Hawk. And she doesn't even really have that many bad anti-feats during the tournament, so there's really no reason to rate her any lower than this. Now above her, unfortunately, is Sam, Hawk, and King. Now these 3 are kind of interchangeable in their order because, I mean, to be honest, they don't really have any like hard scaling to like compare them to one another. We do know that Sam beat Devin, which on paper you'd be, oh, well, wouldn't that put Devin above Hawk because, you know, Devin beat Hawk? Although that seems to be the case, the reason I say it's kind of contentious is because Hawk has better feats than Devin in part 2, such as beating the Irish Dragons female captain, Dublin Thunder female captain, who was capable of pressing Sam, and he beat her easily. And, you know, the Dublin Thunder female captain was relative to Sam every time they fought. However, all of that seems to be on paper a pretty good reason to put Hawk above. Sam does do better against Yoon in their brief exchange, and also does fight Quan off screen. And Quan, you know, fodderized Yoon pretty bad. Kenny, in my opinion, is stronger than both Sam and Hawk, though, because he does blatantly performed better during their tag team fight and destroyed two of those people, Eve sweeping both of them. And we do also know in part, one, he never actually loses a single fight during that exchange, only ever losing a flag to Anthony. And we do know he should still have access to things like the Silver Bullet. And he's also gotten puberty amped as well, so he should be much stronger physically than he was in part 5, which is honestly the only thing really holding him back. So not only does he still maintain the speed advantage he has over most of the cast, he now has the AP to harm them, and just based on the fact he can perform very well at a world stage, kind of strikes to me that he should be here. Also, Devin admits inferiority to him, and Devin is relative to Sam and Hawk, so I don't really see a reason why Kenny would be anywhere lower than them, especially because, again, he's got the Silver Bullet. Plus, we also know that Kenny does also perform very well in the beginning against Miguel and Robbie. Although I wouldn't say it's too crazy when he was fighting Sam and Tori, they had to like kind of team up to push him back. So, and this is before he was training again. So I definitely think that means something. Now, although he wasn't on the template, Yoon should be above these guys, as not only does he never really lose to anybody on screen other than the Quan and the Robbie, he needs to get 3v1 using a kind of cheap strategy from Robbie, from Hawk, Kenny, and Dimitri to gas him out. Which, although you can argue they maybe did not need to use this, when Yoon fought Hawk at the beginning of the tournament, he destroyed him easily. And he is also relative to Sam, which we saw briefly, and also went relative to Miguel off screen. So in my opinion, Yoon should be here. It's not by a large extent, but he should still be here. Now above Yoon is Miguel. Now listen, Miguel fans, I know you're gonna hate this, but here's the thing. Miguel does not have many good feats this season, but I will give him his props for being above everyone else on the team. The main reason why he should be this high is because Quan calls Miguel number 2, which obviously infers he's below Robbie. So the only person that should be above Miguel should be Robbie, and this means Miguel would just be above everyone else. He also carried them in their little tag team ring out match, while also performing pretty well against Quan briefly. Although he did kind of get cooked and Quan was kind of taunting him and didn't take Miguel seriously. Either way, it's pretty good, and he did fight Axel for an extended period of time. Although he had 0 success and was getting no-diffed the whole fight. But either way, Miguel should still go here. And he did also fight Yoon off screen during the Group A match. And it is implied that Miguel has the advantage over Yoon, but he wasn't able to knock him out during that 1 minute frame. So I wouldn't argue that he's much above Yoon, and he should still be relative to everyone below him, probably just above based on the things I mentioned. Now here's where things get interesting. Tori, Zara, and Quan. These three are possibly the weirdest fighters to scale in the entire show up to this point in Season 6 in relation to one another. So Tori, at the beginning of the season, doesn't perform very well. She's able to beat Sam at the first fight on the sparring deck for the Captain Headband, or at least that's what was implied, but you can argue they were just going to be relative. But she does seem to be doing worse than Sam during the tournament when they fight. But the first fight, they were even. In the second fight, Sam got a brief advantage, but we don't know what would have happened, so I'm going to really leave that up to interpretation. But regardless, Tori should be getting an amp after meeting up with Robbie, because she got no-diff by Zara at the beginning, and then now she's relative to him after she made up with Robbie. And it was just clear she was more motivated to keep fighting, and she did really well against Zara as opposed to getting no-diff. So I guess now I should explain Zara's placement, because Tori being above Miguel is dependent on where Zara scales. So you know how I spent that entire time explaining how Miguel should not be above everyone else on his team by a significant amount, such as the fact that him and Sam did basically the same against Quan, and although Miguel is still implied to be the best, by carrying them throughout the tournament, fighting Yoon for the most extended period of time, and also Quan calling him number 2. Outside of that, he should not be that much above them, because again, he does just about as well as Sam against Quan. Tori and Sam are relative. Zara no-diff the absolute shit out of Tori. So Zara should definitely by far be above Miguel. And since Tori, by the end of the tournament, got a mental amp and goes relative to Zara, Tori should just surpass everyone else. Now I can talk about Quan, because this guy Quan is possibly the weirdest guy to pinpoint where he actually scales on the entire tier list. But one, Miguel is not stronger than him. Not only did he effortlessly get a point after mocking him during their match, it's implied that the only real threat to him was Robbie and also Axel. Miguel's never really done that well against Quan. They had 2 exchanges, and one of them lasted for 3 seconds, and all Miguel did was react and block. And the second time he got folded pretty easily, and Miguel immediately tagged out. Now, for people saying that he just did that so for plot isn't an argument, that's stupid. And if Miguel thought he could beat Quan, there's no reason for him to tag out. You can argue he did it so he could give Robbie his moment to shine, but we've seen that you don't have to tag out if you get a point on you. And I feel like it wouldn't really make sense narratively for Miguel to just cut down like that, just so Robbie could get a moment, considering we literally know that before Miguel left, Carmen told him to go back and win the Sekai Taikai, so it wouldn't make any sense for him to cut down like this, when if anything, he should have more motivation than ever to keep fighting. So, Quan is above Miguel for that simple reason. And again, he also easily beat Sam, who should be not far off from Miguel, so it's just kind of consistent. The only real person to make him struggle throughout the entire tournament is Robbie and Axel. But to compare Quan and Zara is just super hard. They both basically can easily take, I wouldn't say easily, but they can both deal with like Tori level characters like Miguel and Sam and Tori herself pretty easily without going through much difficulty. Zara does it a bit easier, but at the same time, Quan is like clearly like messing around with these characters, so it's like kind of vague. And Quan also just has more like depth of feats, as he doesn't really have just 1 or 2 feats. He's got like a few feats to go off of. So just in part 1, easily destroying Yoon in a 3v1. When we know in part 2, Yoon and Miguel are somewhat relative, so it's a bit weird to say who's better. You can put either or above, but I don't really think it matters that much to me. Now, Glizzy, you can address B tier now, and this is your time to shine.
Alright, we have the GOAT himself, the glorious king of Miyagi-Do karate, Robbie Keane. Robbie Keane. Now, the reason that he's in B tier is because he embarrasses Quan on multiple occasions. During their tag team match, Quan cannot do anything against Robbie, no matter how hard he tries. And it's even worse because Devin questions Johnny on what Robbie's even doing. And Johnny confirms that Robbie's just basically just taking the piss out of the fight and just trying to make it last longer so that Quan can be humiliated and doesn't even get the point as quick as he can. And even when he does finally go for the point, we see that he's able to easily kick Quan in the face and knock him down. We also see that in the brawl, Quan attempts to jump Robbie with Yoon, but that just goes badly for him as well. And yeah, like, Quan just can't do anything against Robbie. Now, a lot of people seem to believe that Miguel should be above Robbie, but this is just false, as all statements that would lead to that are not really about Miguel being stronger than Robbie. It's just about the fact that he was fighting better than him because Robbie was mentally nerfed. And it's confirmed several times that Robbie beat him fair and square during the events of part 1. Many people use a creator statement that says Miguel was unbalanced, but this just cannot be true, as Miguel was shown doing better throughout the fight, so it was more likely that his desire to become captain was motivating him. And yeah, Robbie also gets an amp at the end of the season when making up with Tori, so that just clears up his mental inhibitions. So there's not really any possible way that the characters in C tier could contend with Robbie in any way, shape, or form. We then have Axel. Now, Axel is this high because, well, Robbie's not able to land a point on him during their semifinals match. Although Robbie was adapting towards the end, he still gets flung away by Axel, and Axel's able to draw blood from him. And it's just kind of clear that Axel is set up as this obstacle that the characters have to overcome by part 3. But if you really want to argue Robbie being above based off some things we know that are coming up, you can. But otherwise, Axel would go here. Now, Mike Barnes as a kid and Mike Barnes as adults feel basically similar, as Mike did not do any training in between the events of Karate Kid 3 and Cobra Kai. And it's confirmed that it wasn't until he met Dino that he started getting pulled back into karate. And the reason that they would be above the kids of season 6 is because we see that the adults are clearly just portrayed to be above the kids at every turn. Even more so in season 6, as Dano's just able to neg an attack from an enraged Tori without Tori even being able to see him. We also see that the senseis are pushing the kids to the next level in Barcelona when they had their last training session. And we see things like Robbie and Sam needing to 2v1 Johnny in the car. And Mike Barnes was obviously able to go toe-to-toe with Johnny until Johnny started making fouls. So, yeah. Cobra Kai Kids did not surpass KK3 Mike Barnes, unfortunately, but it is what it is.
That's my GoPro. Alright,
Oh,
guys. It's up for 8.
Your turn, happy boy.
Uh-huh. Alright, guys. Now we're getting to the upper adult scaling now. Starting off with Terry and Kreese. Now, they do fight at the end of part 2. And it's kind of debatable whether or not you want to say one is above the others, considering that Terry had a rat for some of the fight. But it doesn't really make sense as he and Kreese were going relative beforehand. So it's really just left to your interpretation on who is better. So I would just put Kreese above just for personal bias because I think Kreese is a better character. But you know, that's just how it is, guys. But above Kreese and Silver is Johnny Lawrence, and he is in this tier with them because he performs better against Terry Silver compared to Kreese, and he was getting the upper hand, so it's just safe to assume that he's the better out of the 3 in this lower tier of A tier. And compared to Sensei Wolf, he got humiliated, and bro was pretty much asking for forgiveness, bro. Like this man was the Eddie Brock of Cobra Kai, but he does perform way worse compared to Daniel against Sensei Wolf. So yeah, moving on to Daniel this season, he does beat up Dennis fairly easily like he did back in 1985, and he also scales much better compared to Johnny against Sensei Wolf, who's just been shown to be the strongest sensei throughout this tier. Above him would be Kim Da-yoon and Sensei Taguchi, and they're pretty much above Daniel due to the fact that Tori states that Kim is the best that she's ever seen, implying that she sees Kim as the strongest from what she's seen. Therefore, this would just upscale both Kim and Chosen, since Chosen is shown to be relative with Kim. But it's you could sort of argue that Daniel's in this tier with them as well, since right beforehand, Daniel is shown to be on the same level as Chosen. So it's just left up to you on how big that gap is. And they would just be below Sensei Wolf due to Sensei Wolf just has the highest scaling, and he just performs the best out of everyone in this tier, being able to low diff Johnny Lawrence and being able to hold a decent advantage against Daniel. And he should just be up here. And also Terry Silver is the one who hires him, so Terry should just like, if I was Terry Silver, bro, I would assume this guy's like the best, you know. But that is how it is for A tier. That is covering the adult scaling, and I'm gonna give Curse the final tier, which is S tier. So you can go ahead and explain that, buddy.
Okay, so S tier is full of Mr. Miyagi, and that's it. And before you bozos try to bring up Kim Sun-young, the authors of Cobra Kai consistently have no clue what they're talking about. Like, how do you write a show and somehow contradict the show? Like, contradict your own statements and the next season of the show? Like, they're not even consistent with each other. Anyways, sorry, I don't know what possessed me to say that, but anyways, Mr. Miyagi does have by far the best feats. I mean, even while suppressed, he's capable of easily defeating like Silver and Kreese with no difficulty at all. Now, although Sensei Wolf sort of does something similar, we do know he does struggle somewhat with Daniel and Johnny. Not really getting tagged, but they're able to fend him off for a significant amount of time, and Johnny and Daniel really aren't that much above Silver and Kreese. At least not Johnny. You know, we know Mr. Miyagi's by far able to no-diff Kreese and Silver while holding back, which is honestly probably really impressive, because we know Miyagi can kill people. We know he can be super violent and super aggressive, yet he willingly does not do this because he doesn't really like violence anymore, allegedly after killing somebody in the Sekai Tekai, which honestly makes him even more impressive because we now know that he's probably been going like 5% on everybody the entire time he's fought in every single of the original movies. We also know he knows every single technique in Miyagi-Do, and maybe even some that Chosen doesn't know, as the only techniques Chosen knows were in the scrolls, while Miyagi was taught them from his dad. who may or may not know more than Chosen. Either way, we also know Daniel admits inferiority to Miyagi, and even in the little dream sequence, which I know technically that's not like real or anything, in the dream sequence we do see Daniel gets like really badly no-dipped by Miyagi, and in my opinion, I don't even think that Miyagi should even be better than the one in 1984, because firstly, Miyagi wasn't even that old in the original movies. He was only like 50, so it's not like he was a really old man or anything. So there's no reason why he should physically be any worse, other than like being a bit older. But his technique and skill should probably be a bit higher, but obviously that's just entirely speculative. But anyways, Miyagi is definitely the top of the verse. I don't think he's ever really going to be surpassed. I just narratively don't think it makes any sense. Unless you find out he was secretly like the villain and he was alive the whole time and he's going to be the final villain of the show.
Oh,
Or some dumb shit like that.
But
Yeah.
yeah, guys, that's the video. Glizzy, Curse, you guys want to have any like final thoughts about the scaling? Anything speculative for part 3? You know, just
Oh yeah, Robbie owns Miguel, and if Miguel wins in part 3, that would be horrible writing.
that
By
would
the
be
way.
very horrible writing.
Also, for all you people that want Cobra Kai to come back as like Johnny under Johnny Lawrence, that you want, bro. Please get some media literacy. Please, I beg of you.
And if that happens, CK would be like probably the worst show to ever exist, bro. That would be like the worst writing. Like, there's no way they would cave to fan service that bad, bro.
Oh god, the biggest downfall TV history if that happens. Okay, that's a
Like, if y'all care about CK coming back that much, just go watch seasons 1 and 2, bro.
If Robbie and Tori don't win the Sakai Takai, the writers fumble their own bag.
Oh yeah.
Literally, everything is set up for them to win, bro. Like, come on now.
But yeah, guys, that's the video. Thank you again, Curse, Glizzy, and Vokri for being a part of this video. And if you guys just want to see more content from me, you know, you guys can like and subscribe. You can also comment like if you guys want some more collabs, because honestly, I had a lot of fun doing this. And you know, I just want to thank you guys for being subscribed all overall these past few years. You know, I really like this community. Well, that's a lie. I do like some people in this community, but you know what? Everyone was brought together because of this show, and I think we just need to show more of that, you know. And yeah, guys. And expect a blooper video. Yeah, there you go. And you guys have a good one. All right. See you guys.